Some people will derail their ketogenic diet because they're going to do lots of sugar alcohols, lots of polyols, xylitol, sorbitol, these different sugar alcohols, because supposedly they don't get digested and broken down. The idea, though, it's still hitting your tongue. If you're hitting sweet all the time, there could be some insulin secretions due to the fact that your brain's sensing sweet. So doing some sugar alcohols frequently, over the top, all the time, that can be a way to derail it. Again, stevia, definitely better than other types of sugars out there, but you got to make sure and not make it a staple in most of your meals. Try to avoid those fake sweeteners. And so in regards to a ketogenic diet, keeping your protein at around 15 to 25%, and then keeping your carbs usually 10% or less, and 20 to 50 grams net grams a day. The more active you are, the more you walk, the more you move, you can get away with more carbohydrates, because as those carbohydrates come into your body and that glucose goes into your bloodstream, you're going to typically use insulin to start to store the carbohydrate into glycogen in the liver or the muscle, or it gets converted to fat. But if you're exercising and you're moving, or if I'm walking, guess what? That glucose is just going to get burnt up by the mitochondria. It doesn't really have to get stored. It's going to get burnt. The more we're increasing insulin through carbohydrate, processed sugar, processed flours, when insulin's high, it's really hard to burn fat. And so that's part of the thing, is keeping that carbohydrate load down. That keeps the insulin down. When insulin's high, it's your body prioritizes burning glucose for fuel over fat. And so part of the whole mechanism is we're trying to get that glucose low. That keeps the insulin low. That allows us to start burning fat. And fat's a much more stable fuel source than glucose. The analogy is having a campfire and trying to keep that fire going with twigs and paper versus a nice big log on the fire. The log on the fire is going to be like burning fat for fuel. So the big one is the sugar alcohols. The second big one is using excess junky proteins. So of course, soy protein's going to be a big one, especially with phytoestrogens in there. Not going to be the best, because that can also promote fat storage, because you're increasing estrogen, and estrogen in and of itself can help increase fat storage. So we want to be very careful. Third thing is poor digestion. We may have a hard time, not enough hydrochloric acid, not enough enzymes, not enough bile salts, and we're not able to break down that good protein and that good fat. And so if you look at kind of your macros on a ketogenic diet, well, guess what? So you have 10% going to be protein, 10% going to be your carbs or less. So 90% is protein and fat. So if you have poor digestion, poor enzymes, poor acid, poor bile salts, you may have a hard time breaking those foods down. And so very, very important to look at, are you having a hard time breaking down protein and fat? That's third. Fourth thing I would say is going to be, do you have an infection? Because infections can also make it very hard. Infections create stress and inflammation in the gut, and that inflammation and stress in the gut can make it hard to also make enzymes, also make acids and bile salts, also keeps your gut more inflamed. The more inflamed your gut is, it can throw off motility. It can cause your body to want to flush things out quite a bit faster, and you can have diarrhea or even be extremely slow and have constipation because your gut is off due to infections.